One of the things that we've talked about on the show, one of the areas has been medical malpractice, Amanda, and it's an area that we practice in and we've been practicing for a long time in. It's kind of a unique area from the standpoint of it's different from other personal injury cases, right, Amanda? Because you don't automatically know if something's medical malpractice, right?
Right. It's a lot different from a car accident where you might have a rear end and you would say, okay, the liability is there. You would say that right off of the bat. It's a lot different in that you do need to look at the medical records. You need to speak to a physician and make sure there is a case. So it's a lot more complex, I would say.
Yeah, and one of the things that's important in the process of evaluating on medical malpractice is to recognize the fact that you have aspects of, you have to prove that there was a departure. And what we mean by departure, we're saying that someone did not do, or doctor didn't do, a medical doctor didn't do what they should have otherwise have done, or a hospital, or they did do something they shouldn't otherwise have done. And the way we're able to show that is there's custom and practice. In other words, there's what we call a standard of care in the community is in terms of what a doctor should be doing or what a hospital should be doing, and whether or not that particular physician or medical facility met that standard of care. And that's why we have to go and speak to a medical provider in that area specific of medicine as to what the standard of care is. Now, sometimes it could be obvious. As an example, if somebody goes in and they're supposed to have their left leg amputated, but they amputate the right leg, it's obvious you shouldn't have had that happen. That's not really usually where most of the cases come from. It's more obscure than that. For us to actually be able to analyze it, we have to look at medical records. We have to assess those records. We have to listen to your story carefully in terms of what actually otherwise did or didn't happen. And that allows us, by doing that, to then assess what you say as against what the medical records say, Amanda.
Right.
Now, there are times when you'll come to us and you'll believe something occurred in a certain way, and it may be very different, or the records may show something very different. So that can mean a couple of things. It can mean either you had a different perception of it, or it could mean as possibly that they were not reflected properly in those medical records in terms of what happened. And we have ways to analyze that. We have ways to determine if, in fact, what is actually in those records is accurate, isn't accurate. But in the process, it's not just a matter also of only having a departure, which is negligence, right? So someone did something they shouldn't have done, or didn't do something they should have done. There's another part to it, Amanda, in order to have a case. You have to then prove that as a result of that departure, that failure, that negligent act or acts, we have to also prove what?
That it caused you damage.
Right. So we've had clients that have come to us at times where they've come to us and clearly there was negligence, right?
Yes.
And but we've looked at it, and we cannot causally relate any type of injury as a result of it. And so clients have said to us, well, I could have been killed, as an example. And we say, you're absolutely 100% right. Thank God you weren't.
Right.
But we have to only rely on, in terms of bringing a case, we have to be able to prove that it did cause injury. And the worst case scenario is that it actually caused a death.
Right.
And so those are cases that we look at very carefully. And as we're doing that, we're assessing all of those aspects of it. And those aspects may or may not be clear.